Alrighty, welcome to the Lockdown Podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed the Raw on Netflix and you did not get any lags or any of the nonsense we got with the Logan Paul or the Jake Paul and Tyson fight. So hopefully nobody had any spinning clocks during the episode. I did not.
I didn't.
Honestly.
It worked perfectly fine, better than the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight.
Yeah, so I think they definitely got their poops in a group. So essentially with the Raw on Netflix kickoff, the matches were high caliber. Obviously, it was a 3-hour show with only 4 matches, but obviously there was a lot of glitz and glamour. A lot of celebrities showed up, a lot of promos in the back with different celebrities, and so on and so forth. So I mean, I think from an overall production level, I think Netflix, with Raw and Netflix, I think they hit the nail on the head for the first episode. But I definitely feel like there needs to be changes moving forward to it. Um, I still think we need to, and obviously I think the being the kickoff, I think that's why it was so much glitz and glamour. We still need to get back to the product itself. We don't need 1,000 backstage segments. We don't need all this extra glitz and glamour. So I'm hoping that tomorrow they kind of continue the
I'm
status
hoping.
quo.
I'm hoping tomorrow I don't got no damn commercials.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. You're not going to charge somebody $23 and then show them like $75, $85 worth of ads
Yeah,
and then say
because
it's their fault. No,
well,
get
because
it
I mean, for
together.
me, obviously, I didn't have that, but like, and so there was a lot of segments that are missed by the average consumer of it, unless you've seen them on X or Instagram or anything like that. You had a segment with Karrion Cross and Scarlett and the Miz, and you had the Wyatt Six overlay during that. And so, I mean, honestly, a lot of it really was just kind of chintzy interviews. I don't think like it wasn't too much to be missed. But obviously, when you're paying the money for it, I still want it, even though it's you know minuscule content. But I mean, that's all right. I mean, I kind of filled you guys in on the live, so I mean, really, it wasn't
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much to miss.
yeah. You had to fill us in when we had the stupid commercials.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you guys watching commercials? No, I'm not. Like, because it was
Hey,
kind of cool because you didn't get the because what so if you didn't watch it or you haven't watched the Netflix thing yet, so what it does when you have the biggest subscription or whatever, what it does is when everybody else on the basic whatever platforms are playing or whatever, when it kicks out for what would be normal commercial time, what it does for the people on the top tier is that it'll come back after like a couple seconds. And so what you see on TV when you see the break and then they kind of come back to it when they come back, you basically get to watch what would be the normal break for everyone else. And then after probably like 4 or 5 minutes of the match, it'll do another fade in, fade out, and then be back to what would be normally shown on a regular, TV episode. So that's kind of how it goes. But basically I don't know how to put it, but like
I had to switch mine into what you have it as.
yeah, and so but like everyone else sees the set like the matches are the only time that you're gonna see the commercial breaks that are different. So like if it's just regular stuff in between like segments in the back and stuff like that, or if they, would be a normal commercial break, it's really like everyone sees the same like WWE promos. It's just during the matches that you get those commercial breaks and stuff like that. So that's kind of the skinny of how they set it up. So kicking off the whole Raw thing, you had Triple H go out and give what I feel like was the typical suit and tie promo by Triple H. But I mean, he is kind of coming into the business role, so I mean, him being professional is gonna be the norm. So obviously, he comes out, and then here we come, The Rock comes out, gives the most cliche Rock promo. And what I didn't like about the whole Rock promo was the fact that after all we've seen with him and Cody, and like what I would say is probably one of the more hardcore heel turns Rock that we've seen in a long time, beating the holy piss out of him, and then all of a sudden he comes back and it's like they're BFFs.
Yeah, that just felt freaking weird when they were just lovey-dovey, like they're good old buddies, like they
They just had
nothing really happened.
It was like a cracked heel turn. So
it was like he came out when Cody teamed up with Roman, then it comes out and does the whole 1, 2, 3 thing. Then on freaking Raw, he's trying to be nice and he's in the back drinking some whiskey with him.
Which
that was just weird.
He should have been arrested for one. And I think a lot of people didn't really catch that. But the fact that one, he is drinking an alcoholic beverage, which, okay, you're the boss, do what you want. But he throws the open container in the backseat and drives off. Now, I don't think he's past the DUI level, but I don't think that's smart. That's smart on his point or on his part. But whatever. And honestly, he probably drove off and parked in the parking lot. So I don't think he fully on left, but definitely a weird thing to do when you're the, head of the TKO board. But yeah, so we had the first match, which was The Rock versus, not The Rock, sorry. You had the tribal combat match between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. For the most part, this match was pretty predictable, but I think the win was clean by Roman. I think it wasn't as much outside interference as you normally see. I think it was enough to say it happened, but it wasn't overloaded where you're like, I'm really sick of this crap. Like, we got as much typical outside interference from the Bloodline.
It was a good match.
Oh, yeah, it was 100%. A solid match.
So
it definitely showed
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it definitely showed that Solo isn't a slouch in the ring. He can hold his own. That Roman can dance with anybody and make them look good or make them look bad. He's definitely been putting over family, and I think that's a testament to one of the pillars of professionalism in professional wrestling, especially when it comes to family and knowing that they'll be there longer than you'll be there. So yeah, it all works. I think that was a really solid match from Roman with Solo to open up the show.
And even in loss, it's still a good match. Like, that's the thing, is like it's not always like the winner, it's kind of the match, and so I think, this definitely gave Solo a little bit more validation, as he's not just someone they're just mouthpiece and just kind of doing whatever he's doing. And I think, it gave some relevancy to his progression that he's made, since being on the main roster. And he kind of really skated through NXT. So, he did kind of get that big push. So, he had a lot of expectations on the line. And I think this match just kind of gave me that, like, that nod. I'm like, you're good, man. I think because Roman is a class act, he's a veteran, he's been doing it for, 10 plus. And so, like, I think, just good match. And I think it's going to be interesting on Friday, when we get, I would say probably some kind of acknowledgement ceremony, probably at the end of the show. Maybe we'll get, the real Rock, the real final boss. Maybe we'll get something. But I think it's going to be interesting because, you have OG Bloodline and you have Bloodline 2.0. where does this mesh? Because now if Solo is not the quote unquote tribal chief, where does that leave the Bloodline 2.0 validation? Like, what does that mean for the group? Is it still just this massive faction that runs roughshod? Do they do anything with it? Do we see maybe a separation of the group? I don't know. So I think we're definitely going to see here in the next couple weeks, because we have to have a definitive bloodline. Like, I feel like we're going to have that moment where it's like Bloodline 2.0, you acknowledge Roman, and maybe this is just a huge maybe, is because they have wanted, to basically move Roman Reigns to Netflix being a big star. That was talked about months and months ago about that happening. And so maybe we get the bloodlines separated on brands, and then we're not so shoved down our throat with it, just because there's stories that can go on each brand in regards to the bloodline. And I think there's a lot to tell if you separate them versus having them on the same show, and we're just getting a 20,000 scoops of bloodline. And I think we need to separate that, because I mean, you have the Wyatt Six stuff going on Raw, you got Judgment Day stuff, and so like there's so many things that can be spun off with splitting them up. And I'm hoping that happens, honestly. Like, I feel like it just has to happen, because like you have the champion Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, and he doesn't really mean anything. Like, he's just a happy-go-lucky champion, and it's run its course. We're all over it. Cody, we don't care that you're the champion anymore. Like, you meant less than the Ulafala. Okay, like when you have that point in your career, when your championship doesn't mean jack on a show, like, that's a problem. Like, and I think we're all pretty much over the Cody Rhodes championship run. I mean,
I think it has, again, I do think it has a lot to do with just how big the bloodline storyline has been. And also he kind of, he just kind of took a backseat to it. We've talked in depth about why his championship run was overshadowed by everything else. It seemed like everything else just was just more interesting, and everything else was the bloodline, when it came to him and his championship. Now he's in this really, I won't say it's a mediocre feud with Kevin Owens, but I will say it's a feud that's had its ups and downs. I can't get over some of the what I interpret as like psychological storytelling, with like misinformation from Kevin Owens, and how his opinion and point of view is changing the narrative, and then how Cody's interpretation of what's going on is like,
it's getting repetitious, though.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's a
very
really good word for it.
plateaued. It's very stale. It's the same things back and forth on both sides. Like, I mean, if you want a plateau storyline, I guess go ahead and keep doing it. But
Mhm.
like, you're becoming as entertaining as filler, and I don't like that, because there's so much to it. But the problem is we need a decisive ending.
So here's
Because
a comparison. I think it is still, Bloodline is still top tier, top level. And then I think with this loss with Solo, we'll see where the whole Bloodline family saga, what it evolves into. But I would say Cody's current feud with Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens against Cody, is one step above Shinsuke and LA Knight.
ooh.
And
And that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, that's the parallel we go with.
right. And that's not to say that Shinsuke and LA Knight aren't they aren't good performers, or they're not doing the best work that they have
Yeah.
with what they're being presented with. It's just that it's about the same level of energy. Only difference is that um Cody and Kevin are getting um more premium time on television to tell their story, as opposed to Shinsuke and LA Knight. And if you were to flip them, they would have the same energy.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's
I
I
mean,
guess
that's the facts.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
and
mean,
it's. I think it's becoming a basic recipe. I'm sorry, but like,
yeah. Yeah,
and
and maybe it's just filler. Like we're all kind of waiting for the Royal Rumble to drop, and maybe it's just filler, and we'll get this transition. I hope Shinsuke does very well in the Royal Rumble. I hope that it turns into something. I don't want to see the strap back on LA Knight. He doesn't really need it right now. I think he needs to be in more championship conversations if he is someone you're going to push. But if LA Knight is leading the mid card stories and journeys, you're going to have to like put him one on one with Jacob Fatu at some particular point.
oh man,
And
I mean, I think that segment definitely. I feel
yeah,
like it's definitely pushing that way. And honestly, like, I love what LA Knight's doing right now in the mid card level stuff. Like, I mean, it's like he's a face who doesn't care about all the nonsense going on, and he doesn't have any problem. He doesn't hold back from letting his feelings be known. So
That is true.
yeah,
yeah, and so I mean, so it's man, yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, so let's roll back Raw here. So Roman wins. Obviously, the Ulafala gets on his neck, and so now he's the only tribal chief.
I already saw that. Me personally, I already saw that was going to go back to him.
Yeah, and so John Cena comes out. Obviously, gives the typical John Cena promo. Like, and what's so funny is that he talks about the length of his career in WWE, but realistically, it's been 15, not 20. Like, I don't like the fact that just because just because you've quote unquote been on the roster for this long, doesn't mean you've been on the product for that long. Like,
I mean,
I,
that's
and
that's
he
like
basic.
that's splitting hairs, so to speak. I
But
mean,
I know, but like,
Oh, he started.
but you cannot sit there and like, oh, I've been doing this for this long. No, you haven't. And like, just because
uh,
it took you 5 years to all of a sudden say, oh, I'm gonna be done, dude, you've been done. You've been done.
True.
Like,
you
don't
know,
let me. You know what? I'm gonna get my freaking Paul. I'm getting Paul Heyman mode. Okay, so I don't care. You could have retired 3 years ago. Like, I don't care. John Cena, you're done. I don't care if you win the Royal Rumble. I don't care if you win number 17. You're done after the year anyways. So I don't care what you do for 2025. I don't care. Because just because all of a sudden you come back for a farewell tour, big flicking whoop. Why? Because your movies are done? Like, I really do not care for John Cena, his retirement tour, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't care. If the only thing that John Cena brings out of 2025 is a heel Cody, that's the only thing I want. Because there can't be two John Cenas in WWE at the same time. So
True.
if we get a heel Cody, that's the best thing John Cena did in 2025. Right? Am I wrong? Don't shrug at me, Frederick. You know I'm right because we've all talked about we want to heal Cody, right?
I do.
Tell me I'm wrong.
He's just gonna say it in his head.
I mean, being gone for 5 years.
You're not wrong.
That's like saying a guy in
you're
injury
not
reserves
wrong. But Cody would have to drop the championship to John,
and he will. He's losing at WrestleMania.
Okay.
Period.
So if that is the best work that John Cena does, then it makes sense. However, I don't know if you or Tim have watched the Shannon Sharp interview that John Cena did last year, but John Cena has done. So I take So John Cena is signed like a long-term deal with the WWE. They have rights on his name. And this is according to John Cena during that interview. And as much as he's not been in the WWE, he's still contracted to the WWE. So has he been doing solid work over the last 5 years? No. But he's done probably just as much work as The Rock has done over the last 5 years. I would probably say a little bit more.
He's an ambassador, I would say.
Yeah, like
I could say that, but to
And-
act like
and-
he's had this 20-year career in WWE,
but
like, no.
that's I mean, it's for you, it's kind of like, no, you haven't. You've had these pauses. For me, it's kind of like, well, he's still signed. He didn't go anywhere. He's a company man. So, and if they're still paying him, then technically, yeah. I mean, he still showed up every year and did a little something.
That's like saying an injured player on a football team has a contract for 5 years and never plays, but he says, "Oh, I had this long football career."
Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at that, you've got to have that same energy. You got to have that same energy. I'm not saying that his in-ring career has been a solid 25 years. No one said that. He's had injuries. He's had this. He's done movies. He's done all kinds of things. Would we split the same hairs if it was Big E talking about his career? He's still with the WWE. His in-ring career cut short.
If you define it as it's the end of his in-ring career, that's fine. Even though he's been gone for, like, Big E's injury struck in, and that's what it is. But John Cena's just been gone. Like, and he shows up once a year just to say he's had a match in one time in that year. Like, that,
I mean,
like,
as much as it sucks to like look at it like that, it's kind of like, well, I mean, it's technically that way. I mean, we both know it's just like, hey man, in comparison to other performers and stuff like that, you've kind of like, really had a long holiday, a 5-year holiday where you've gone like less than part-time. So, I get the frustration that you have with it, and I acknowledge that, but it's just like,
it's done. Let's just say, like, at the end of it, like, all right, cool, you're finally actually done. Then I'm like, you know what?
Right.
All right, fine. But I could rant about this for a while. But I am gonna be trying to be professional. Keyword trying. But like, so let's move through Raw. So Rhea recaptures her title. Now essentially you have Judgment Day with no titles. Now they're just a 5-piece band. Like, they have nothing. Now they are nothing. And so I really hope, now that they have nothing, I hope they disperse. So, I hope I think best for JD to go down to NXT, Dominic to try to do a solo, Raquel go back to being Raquel, and Finn chasing championships again by himself.
So, I don't think JD is going to go by himself. What I do think is that the band is going to split up, and I think it'll be Dominic, Liv, and Raquel, and probably Carlito, and then JD and Finn kind of watching each other's back. I think that would be
but it's definitely dispersing, though. I feel like
I would say the first person out would probably be Balor, because I don't think Balor needs it, but they've got to get through that street fight with Damian, and if they all band together for that street fight against Damian and Balor wins, maybe they keep the band together. But if Balor loses, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets, if he leaves, he's super frustrated. They cost him the match and he just walks away from them.
He's definitely been showing like the small cracks of like being frustrated. You know, but I mean, we'll wait and see. I mean, I think it's gonna be a couple months in the works for them to slowly disband, I would think. You know, but we'll play the waiting game and see how things play out. So Jey Uso finally defeats Drew McIntyre after having I think it was like an undefeated, unwinning record against Drew McIntyre. I believe so. They said something of that caliber.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so much to unpack just because it on either show it just seems it's like Bloodline seems to be, you know, the core of everything. And I think it's only a matter of time because there's still been kind of chatter about Seth Rollins making a new Shield. You know, I
That would
don't
be
know how
awesome.
valid it is or whatever it be, but I mean, by the looks of it, you basically have Drew McIntyre, you have Seth Rollins, and you have Kevin Owens, and it's a group off of a mutual hatred for one group. And I mean, I think it'd be awesome. I really would, but like, problem is they're big stars by themselves, so they don't really need to be part of a group. I think it would water it down. But I think a mutual. I don't think an official group would be a thing, but I think like them starting to like, you know, have a couple tag teams or like 3-on-3 tag matches or something with those three. Something that puts them together just because the friend of, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I think that's how it would be probably get played out. But you know, again, it's a wait and see. So this, you know, so the most interesting thing on this Raw on Netflix was the fact that Jey Uso came out with Travis Scott smoking a freaking blunt. Now,
that was hilarious.
it's so wrong on so many levels because of the policies WWE has, let alone like letting it happen in an arena which there's no smoking. Like I I didn't like that. I think if he would have just came out with him, I would have been fine with it. But like I think the blunt thing was a little bit much.
Yeah,
But I mean it's also very Travis Scott. So I mean it's kind of, you know,
yeah, it is. I think it was a bad look for the WWE, but at the same time, it was probably out of their control at that particular point.
Probably. They
You
probably
know,
said
because
something to him afterwards.
yeah, if they decide to continue to go forward with that, I mean, that's on them. I Of all the like, oh, I have a problem with this on the show, that's probably like number 3, maybe 4. Of it, you know, I think it's such an LA thing. I think it's such a uh West Coast entertainment type thing that I'm I'm surprised that we were surprised it happened. you know?
yeah, and
But
I think it was just pushing the envelope and seeing what we can get away with.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And
but
if Netflix and TKO say like, "Hey, let's reel this back in because our advertisers aren't happy with that sort of thing."
oh, they were
They,
all pissed.
yeah, they would, and if that's something like, that's a Triple H, like, hey, I've got to tell you, like, nobody was happy with that. And if we're going to continue to do business, you've got to bring that in. And it's on Travis Scott and his team to be like, yeah, we want to do business. We don't want to be we don't want to turn off anybody. So yeah, we can bring this
I
in.
mean,
And it's on, yeah,
Travis Scott's song "Fiend" is the new song
right.
for Netflix. So like, I think it's definitely going to be like, I'm sure he got a verbal lashing, but I think at the end of the day, it's done and over with.
Yeah.
So now
Did he apologize or anything for that, or did he just
I haven't seen anything, but
I'm
so
gonna take a really quick peek.
so we finally get CM Punk, Seth Rollins. Um, I kind of seen this happening. CM Punk obviously wins. Just a straight up brawl. Let's call it like it is. But this feud is definitely not over with. I think the fact that Seth Rollins legitimately has actual disdain for CM Punk, and honestly, I think a lot of people do. I think like, yeah, it's cool you're back, but like those are the new fans yelling CM Punk. Those aren't the old fans. Because the old fans, bro, you left. Like, and didn't leave for a couple years, you left for 10 years. And I think, okay, maybe if you're a lifelong CM Punk fan, that's fine. And I'm sure you can cheer and be all jolly, but like I'm irritated. I really think honestly it's I don't like him back. Not because I don't like him as a performer, but I just I didn't want him back. You left for 10 years, dude. You left for a solid decade. And then you just come back and then all of a sudden you just act like relevancy is coming your way and I'm the best in the world. You're the best at leaving companies.
I'm happy he's back.
Oh, I know you are.
I mean, there are a lot of people like Tim that are happy he's back. I don't like how he got back to WWE, and I don't like how he carried himself elsewhere directly before he came back to WWE. All right.
Yeah.
That is what's frustrating to me. But also too, at the same time, you know, there's money to be made with CM Punk. And
it's a financial move, and that's all it is.
Yeah, WWE is going to make money. They're going to put stories. Did I want to see Seth Rollins lose to CM Punk? Nope.
Yes.
I should. I mean, Tim, yes, I 100% acknowledge that. But I did not. But it also
happening.
Yeah, but it also gives credence to some of the rumors and leaks that we've seen online between those two of what potentially could transpire.
And he did whisper to Seth and asking him if he was all right. Then he rolled over to the referee and told the referee to check on him.
And
that's the professionalism, but that's not. But like, there's still disdain.
I know.
It's just the fact that like
CM
Punk is still a class act, and he's not like he's an asshole. He's an asshole on towards most people. But honestly, at the end of the day, this is professional wrestling. This is entertainment, and you still don't want to have your person you're doing the dance with in the ring get injured. So
yeah, I
asshole. I still like him. I'm still gonna support him.
And that is what WWE is counting on. People are counting on bringing him up, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Let's hurry up the CM Punk ship and get it out and let it go. As much as you, Seth, are like, let's hurry up with the John Cena train. I'm more of like, let's hurry up the CM Punk thing and let's get him to wherever he's going to be outside of the ring and done. And it's more so because of, again, how I saw him act in a previous company before he came back to WWE, and I'm very disappointed in how that relationship in its entirety transpired. It's not just him, it's everyone that was around him. But I just think that his behavior has been rewarded since returning to WWE. Like these feuds with Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, I don't think he should have won all of those two matches with Drew McIntyre. I think Drew McIntyre has a physical presence that should have just said no. I think Seth Rollins is more of an equal kind of shape and wrestling style that it could go like either way for winning the majority of those matches in story. Uh, but that's just my opinion, and that's just on the outside looking in. I don't know what happened previously. I just know what has been shared. I don't know what CM Punk's mental state is, or emotional state, or his contracts, or anything else. I just know WWE is not going to lose money with CM Punk. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's
And,
Yeah, but the
it's an
company, but the company he came from sucks, anyways.
it's the
uh,
problem is though is that like it. See, my thing is that like this is just a nostalgia tour, okay? Like
mm,
the fact that these people even show up and come back, it's a nostalgic tour. It's no different than when Edge came back, and there's no different than when Goldberg shows up. There's no difference when any other legend shows up. It's just a nostalgic tour, and it's like I don't want to hear any other. It's like these bands from the 80s and 90s doing tours again. It's like you like the nostalgia, but you don't want to see anything new from them. And right now we're basically getting the same CM Punk playlist that we got 10 years ago. And so it's comparable. It's like, all right, cool, you're here for the lifelong fans that like you, and that's fine, and the new fans are ignorant and they don't understand what you did, but they're going to cheer you because everybody else is cheering. It's like a domino effect at WWE live events when people cheer. You get enough people cheering, everybody will be cheering the same thing, whether they agree with it or they disagree with it. They will cheer because it's all part of the event and the spectacle of a live show. So, like them cheering CM Punk is not about the fact that the majority of them like CM Punk. They just want to be a part of the cheer. And honestly, right now, CM Punk might as well be on a farewell tour next year and be done after that. Do what you got to do and get out. You can go and back. You can be Jason. You can be Jason Jordan and freaking back. You can be J&J Security and back and do all the backstage stuff. I'm fine with that. You are very intelligent when it comes to ring IQ. Allow yourself to step down from like the wrestling stuff and teach the next generation, because we're already in the next generation of wrestlers. I mean, a quarter of the roster was on NXT 2-3 years ago. So like we already have NXT wrestlers already interjected onto main roster right now. And so let's prepare for the future. Get what, like Frederick said, let's get whatever you're gonna do out the way, and then just be done. And it's not gonna say that you can't show up here and there. That's fine. But like let's let the next generation shine. Let's move into the future. Let's get the ring IQ of these NXT stars, or basically the very young main roster finds. Let's get them fine tuned. Let's make the product better, and let's move into the future with it.
right.
Because
And I agree 100% with that. Let's really start. Like, there are people that can use the CM Punk or John Cena or The Rock rib for the betterment of their career and it not hurt the veteran, the working legends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need a John Cena versus Cody. I would like a John Cena versus Carmelo Hayes. You know what I'm saying? Or a CM Punk and Andrade, even though Andrade is a veteran and he's solid. Andrade is solid.
yeah.
Maybe a CM Punk with the Street Profits.
Get
Let
the
that
fantasy
ride.
booking out of the way.
Yep.
Because I mean, and speaking of Carmelo Hayes, I mean, like he's already done the Randy Orton thing too. So like, and I think when you get that much experience in the ring with a veteran of the game that has 1,000+ matches underneath their belt, like it's good for like the product, and now you get more polished product because you have the veterans investing in the future of the brand. Because I mean, you think about even John Cena, Randy Orton, all like down in like FCW and OVW stuff like that, and then look what they became. So like the more veteran experience you invest in the product, the better longevity it is. Because I mean, and without those independent wrestling spots where they wrestled in gymnasiums and whatever else, like you would have, and if no one ever invested into them, they wouldn't be where they're at. I mean, in most of the talent, like pre 2000, have all gone through all those 4 or 5 independent wrestling promotions to get to the WWE. So I want to prepare for the future. Let's get some of the nostalgic stuff. Let's get those fantasy bookings while we can, and let's check boxes off and move forward. I think that's the vibe that I want to work towards, because I feel like there's a lot of depth right now, and let's not put it to waste. So, because a lot of the CM Punk, John Cena, all the stuff it's nostalgia, and that's fine. We all love a little bit of nostalgia, but at the end of the day, like, we need to move forward, not live in the past. So, but let's roll over to SmackDown. So, speaking of Cody Rhodes and the whole Kevin Owens nonsense, I don't even really want to talk about that too much, because I think we've already kind of rolled over our thoughts on Cody Rhodes and Kevin.
Yeah, I'll just pass on that.
And so, I mean, they're just going to ring the chamois for all it's worth. So you have Paul Heyman come out, basically, doing what Paul Heyman does, probably one of the best guys on the mics, and obviously, the Bloodline 2.0 comes out. Obviously, they're still dealing with all that power struggle, I guess we'll call it. Jimmy obviously comes out and saves Paul Heyman, which, being that, I mean, Paul Heyman's got freaking PTSD from getting put through a table. Like, even
Probably has
as
bad nightmares.
even as the bit that it is, like, that still has to be terrifying for a guy who's not a wrestler. And they put that dude like 2-3 feet above the table before they smashed him down on it. Like, but obviously Paul Heyman, being the professional is, he's like, yeah, make it look as real as possible.
Probably did. Just don't make it hurt too bad.
I definitely think, there's very few minds in the business, I feel like, that continue to contribute to the current product. I mean, think of all the guys in back, think of the creative team. I mean, you got to protect the creative, because those are the most brilliant minds in the game. So, game pun intended. But yeah, so I mean, that stuff's going to keep on going. I mean, we've already kind of touched on that stuff too, inadvertently. But yeah, so Chelsea Green defeats Michin. Obviously, Michin won a number 1 contenders match week prior. And so Chelsea Green obviously defeats her. Big emphasis on the defeat. Obviously, she's got freaking Piper Niven doing whatever she does, and I feel like we're getting a situation where it's watering down Piper Niven. It's like Chelsea Green and Piper Niven right now are basically like Liv and Raquel.
Mm.
And so, like, we're getting these these championship bodyguards, and it kind of downplays, because like Raquel's a beast, but she's like playing second fiddle to the blonde Barbie. And then the same thing, like, Piper Niven's a monster. Like, if you've ever seen her outside of,
she's a big girl.
Well, I mean, like, outside of WWE, like, she's a bona fide star. Like, go look it up. And so, like, it kind of waters down, the person just being a lackey. I mean, I think but like, again, it seems like this is just a recipe that's getting used. So, I mean, we talk about the cookbook all the time, and I feel like, sometimes we're okay making the same cookies, okay? Like, and that's just kind of how it rolls out in WWE. Obviously, you get a lot of repetition, a lot of things that seem pretty much the same on paper. And you know what, though? But it works. But it just works till it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
So I think that's just kind of all that really is. But again, you could also say the Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill thing. You could, so I'm kind of waiting to really see what happens with that. Just because it seems to be Bianca's just moved on.
Looks like it.
And it doesn't seem like, at least the on-screen stuff, it just seemed like she's moved on with Naomi. And it's troublesome to think, was it Bianca Belair that did it, or was it Naomi that did it? I thought Charlotte was going to show up at some point, and that didn't happen. So we're still on this open-ended, we don't know yet what's going on exactly situation with Jade. I feel like obviously there was a legit injury with Jade Cargill, so obviously this wasn't just, she wasn't written off TV by accident, but it's a wait and see game. I think things are going to slowly play out. I just don't want it to play out so long that we forget about it. Because I feel like, when stories go stale, then when they try to resolve the story, it's kind of like, it loses its luster. You got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And they just better not botch this. I don't say botch like the whole wrestling terminology. I mean them just don't fumble it, And
Right.
because obviously botch and fake are the two terminologies you get murder for as a WWE fan. But I just,
you get roasted for it.
They just really, if they have a good story, they can't fumble it. Because especially because Jade came in with all the hype in the world. And then all of a sudden she kind of comes in, does a little bit of here and there stuff, has the run with Charlotte in the beginning. So I definitely think we're gonna get a Charlotte and Jade Cargill thing, maybe SummerSlam. Because obviously we haven't had them worked into stories yet. Charlotte's still kind of out doing whatever, Jade's out, and so I feel like until Jade comes back, Charlotte has no reason to come back. Because I feel like if she whoever's the one that did it to her is either Bianca or it's Naomi or Charlotte Flair, and that's the list.
Yeah.
And so however that gets played out, I'm ready for Charlotte to come back, man.
Me too.
I am just, it's kind of like you don't know how much you got until it's gone. And Charlotte Flair's got I think she's got 14 title reigns or something like that, or 13. And the problem is that yes, she's the daughter of Ric Flair, but she's proven herself time and time and time again that she puts in the work. And so the thing is when you put in the work, you get rewarded in WWE. If you piss off the company, you get released or you get low booking. Okay? And that's how it works in WWE. And yes, sometimes they fumble. Sometimes they fumble stories. Sometimes they don't book things right and it happens. But there is a hierarchy in WWE that if you put in the work, you get rewarded. And the prime example of that is Tiffany Stratton. Okay? A year ago, she came in and she was doing just like a stupid promo, stupid everything. But she put in the work, and where she at now a year later. So, I think that's the most current testament to, doing hard work and getting rewarded. And honestly, I love that Tiffany Stratton's champion.
Me too.
It was such a proverbial middle finger to Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, whose basically only relevancy is basically being Nia Jax.
So Candice LeRae is now to Nia Jax is what Indy Hartwell was to Candice LeRae.
Facts. That's facts.
Yeah. I am more so under the impression that it was a weird cash in. It was really random, and I wonder what they're going to lead into.
But it was a
And
great cash in.
all right, it
Oh,
was a great
definitely.
cash in. It was just a weird timing. You
Thought
know
it
what I'm
was.
saying?
I thought, but that like
It
that's
was
the
I
point of
will
the
okay.
cash in, though.
I won't say weird. I will take back weird. I will say unexpected. It was really like there was no kind of like, you know,
I mean,
foreshadowing of the cash in. It was
there
just
was though. There was though.
no. I'm not talking about like, oh, she could cash in, you know, at any time. It was not the cash in was like, oh, you're cashing in tonight. And it was kind of like, ta-da. It was like
Like there was
a
no
random
prediction. But
yeah,
like the
so
whole
there
point of
was
the
so what I
surprise
mean by
is the surprise.
foreshadowing, it was not like, oh, she's cashing in tonight. This is what's happening
Right.
because we saw it last week or we saw it on social media or
Right.
internet or whatever have you.
But
It
like,
was
but
more like,
that's the joy of it
yeah,
though. Like, it's like we've always said, like we want to be surprised, right? And like that was a surprise, and the fact that like, Bianca literally gives her a KOD, and then she does the prettiest moonsault. Boom, she's champ. Like, and the thing is, but there's been cracks in the group because now that Candice LeRae is basically with Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton's been getting looked over by Nia Jax, and she's literally just basically downplayed her being, literally holding money in the bank. Okay, like she's walking around with whenever she wants it, she can go get it briefcase, and you looked over her, and now she's like, boom, I'm cashing in.
In
Bye.
your face, bitch.
Exactly. And so like there was so many cracks in like the whole group, because it was Tiffany and Nia for a long time, and then all of a sudden Candice LeRae kind of joins the fray, and then now like Nia like overlooks, and I think yeah, there wasn't like a foreshadowing. There wasn't like but there was so many little small little like it was it was like literally a line of jelly beans. Okay, like we were working our way towards the end, and we got it, and I think it was awesome. And I think for her, especially like as barely really she's been in the company for like 3 years tops, and so like for her to like put in the work, win Money in the Bank, and do everything that she did in a really a short time period. She's only like 23, 24 or something like that.
Yeah,
I
something like
mean,
that.
and so like I love it. I love every bit of it. We've been talking about the whole like when's she gonna do it? When's she gonna do it? Like, there's been no definitive thing. And I think the fact that it was under wraps and we actually legitimately got like a holy shit moment in WWE, because a lot of times we'll watch these rumor videos and we'll always see like, oh, this they said this might happen, this might happen. And I think like for the first time in a long time, we've gotten a surprise, you know and so I
Yeah.
think like that's the moments we live for. I mean, because like even when like Cody came back and we were there, like we knew he was going to be there because they foreshadowed it so much, and it
Oh
was
yeah.
still great. It was still great when he came out and everything, but like I think Tiffany Stratton winning without us knowing is bigger than that, because there was so much foreshadowing of Cody coming back and everything else. So like it was cool in the moment when he came back, but it's like it wasn't a shock moment, you
No.
know and when WWE pulls one over on us, they're doing their job and they're doing it well, you know. So I love the fact that it was a surprise. So, but back at Tush SmackDown. So obviously we're LA Knight rustled some feathers in the beginning of the night with the Bloodline, shoving Jacob Fatu out the door and closing in. I thought
That was funny.
like I think LA Knight just he's comical, but he's also like, I'm not taking crap from anybody.
I like the
And
GM's face when he threw him out.
Nick Aldis is just like, yeah,
He's
well,
like,
thanks.
hey, did me a favor.
Right. And so yeah, so LA Knight basically had after that segment, he basically had a championship match against Shinsuke for the US championship. Obviously got interrupted by the Bloodline. no real shocker there. But I feel like the whole roster is basically on the shit list of the Bloodline because like it's always been that if you're not with us, you're against us.
Pretty
And like
much.
they've always had these little these mini segments where like, well, are you with us or if you're not with us, you're against us. And if you don't fall in line, you're gonna get your comeuppance and like I don't know, dude. I love LA Knight's work right now. I think it's fantastic. I think he's finally starting to get in this role of like he's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy. He's just a tell you how it is guy. So so Motor City Machine Guns, okay, like they came out the box strong, but lost their titles fairly quickly. Not mad about it. I
Me
think it was
neither.
good. I think it was good when they came back and they just instantly ran roughshod.
I was happy to see them with the WWE titles. Now they could finally mark that off their bucket list.
Yeah,
I
I
I
definitely
wouldn't be
think.
surprised if in a couple of years they may announce a retirement. They get backstage for producer roles, or maybe they go down to NXT to teach or something like that. I think both of them have previous NXT experience, like as coaches or guest
Yeah.
coaches. But they can still go. They're still a very entertaining tag team, and yeah, I'm not mad about that.
I don't think they think deep down they're upset about losing the titles.
No, I think it's going to be a bigger story. I think they'll
Oh, yeah.
they're solid enough team where they can reclaim those championships given the right opportunity.
Plus, I think them being in the company, it'll help out these other young talent on the roster get better at their craft in a tag team
Mhm.
match. It'll
Yeah.
help them bring out their characters, who they are in that ring against them.
Yeah.
Well, and the tag team division is quite, there's quite a depth to the tag team division on both. I mean, honestly, all three brands, honestly.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I think
definitely.
like tag team wrestling, I mean, was definitely more utilized back in the day than it is now. And I think it's good, and especially like, you have A-Town Down Under with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, and so like they're young, and so like I think this is another situation where you're getting the veteran rub, and you're getting in there with people that have a higher ring IQ than you, and I think it only amplifies and it only betters, the division or the talent or whatever, if it's singles or tag, that we allow these newbies, I guess you could say, and a lot of them aren't newbies, but as far as like WWE wise, and obviously WWE is a higher caliber than any other wrestling promotion with the exception of like New Japan, but and so I think it's good. Now I don't want the Hardys to come back though.
Me neither.
Like that's one thing that I don't want. We don't need Jeff Hardy's drama, or like we don't need it.
I think Jeff has been okay the last
I think it's more Matt
I mean,
Hardy.
he's always okay
couple of
until
years.
until like shit hits the fan, and then like the company's got to deal with his nonsense. And I just like I don't think it's
I
good
want to
for
give
WWE right now.
I will give Jeff Hardy grace, and compassion, and understanding that shit is hard for some wrestlers. I mean, they enjoy the product, they enjoy the intent, and they like the work, but life sometimes is just like, hey man, you're going to be really good at this, but here's this lifelong character flaw. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Pretty damn much.
I don't know if he
Yeah.
has more. I think he probably has more DUIs than singles gold, though. So I don't think that's a point of pride.
You know what? We can't talk shit about Jeff Hardy unless we're going to talk shit about the Usos.
Yeah,
That's-
they both have some
That too.
So,
DUIs.
I mean,
But Jimmy,
Damn,
has the
I was
most.
trying to not have you go there, but damn, well done. Well done.
I
I was
mean-
to say Jimmy has the most DUIs, definitely in the state of Michigan.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So
It's- I mean,
So
I think-
if they do
Oh.
return, it will definitely be like a farewell. Hey, we're gonna have like 5 or 6 matches.
Say,
Well, and
say Jeff came back. They should have had Jeff versus Jimmy. Put their DOIs on the line. See who
Oh
has
my
the
God.
who has the
Their
most.
clean record is on a suit. Is in a suit.
Yeah,
definitely.
Clean record.
Whoever wins gets a clean record.
Oh,
just don't fuck it up.
It's called the expungement on a ladder match.
Oh,
But,
expungement. Oh my God. Oh my
See, this is why this podcast is so balanced. See, because I like, and in my mind, I was like, I'm talking about this, and I'm like, I hope no one says anything about shit. Anything, you know. And I think, well, the problem is like, what's so dumb about it though is that like, why do you have these? You live in the generation of having Ubers. Like I don't understand. You have to be 4 shades of dumb to not be like, yeah, I'll call an Uber. No, I'm gonna get on the wheel. I'm fine. You know,
You know,
like,
it's I would not be surprised that with the damage that has been done to each of these performers' body, that sometimes better judgment, it's like, oh, I'll trust this rickety ladder and jumping off of it, but I'm not trusting someone to drive me home when I'm intoxicated. I can do
Right.
that myself. You know what I'm saying?
I know
Judgment,
how to drive.
I jump off of ladders for a living.
I can
you know?
see straight.
So if like the Motor City Machine Guns, the Hardys came back, and I would definitely say for like a farewell tour, they're not winning any gold. They're here to like have a handful of matches and get into the Hall of Fame and ride off in the sunset. Cool, let's do it. Do it up.
They definitely need to be in the Hall of
You know
Fame.
what? But
yeah, I think
Yeah.
coming back
I was
to
to say they're the only ones not in the
finish
Hall
out
of
their
Fame.
career in WWE is fine with me. Just it's going to be interesting because I don't think there's been anything released in regards to the 2025 Hall of Fame class.
and I don't think until the Royal Rumble hits are we in WrestleMania season. So I
Yes.
wouldn't expect it. So I would say the Royal Rumble that night is probably the absolute soonest that we'll get any information about.
They are probably announced it on
class,
the Raw.
the
Raw.
I would not. I don't even know who they would announce. I mean, I think a lot of wrestlers that passed away maybe get inducted.
I mean, Bray Wyatt for sure. I feel
I
like
don't. Yeah,
If
you
they
know
don't
what?
put him in, that'll piss a lot of people off.
I would definitely say like a Bray Wyatt. If we had to like guess, I 100% anytime now.
According to Wrestle Talk, it says 9 inductees for Hall of Fame, and now this is possibilities. Psycho Sid is one of them. I'm gonna find out what else, but like, I think honestly, there's probably quite a list.
I would say, Sid going in would be.
Says the Demolition Tag Team.
Yep, I could see them.
If this stupid page would work. William Regal. And it's kind of cool that he's back in WWE. He's back in like NXT. Cyndi Lauper. I thought she already was.
No, she isn't.
Yeah,
Cyndi Lauper, William Regal. I definitely say are both kind of past due.
And then it says
Cyndi Lauper for sure.
Says the Hardys. Victoria. Umaga.
Only if Zilla is joining.
Batista, and I thought he was supposed to be in there anyway.
He was already like he's been nominated, or he's been like said he's in the Hall of Fame, but there hasn't been any presentation around him because it was like, all of the lockdown stuff and not around fans. So for him to, stand on the stage. Yeah.
Yeah, and the last one is obviously Bray Wyatt. So, I mean, there's also Gold Dust. I mean, there's plenty. I mean, that's the thing is that like, as long as it's not some nonsense like Queen Sharmell, we'll be fine.
Oh god.
You know what? I
Man,
don't know.
Tim,
I
you know
don't
how
know
much
what
of a
the
you remember how
vitriol.
much of a snooze fest that was?
I don't know how what the
Holy crap! In
vitriol is
2022,
of
man.
that. I mean, they, Booker T and his wife going in. It was, I think, it's 100% fine. And
Booker
of
T
all
was
the,
fine. His wife sucks.
I mean, she probably was not a very great professional wrestler, but she did her work, and she did that
I
really
just like,
awful storyline with Kurt Angle, wanting to have have relations with her. I mean, that was just so cringe. But I digress. I don't
I
know
think a
what
lot
the
of
hate
Kurt
is. I
Angle,
mean, I
I think
mean,
a lot
we
of
can
Kurt
hate on
Angle
like
stories are pretty cringe. I
cringe.
mean,
Yeah.
most of the crap on frickin' TNA, but so we'll go back down the SmackDown stuff. So Bailey wins a fatal 4-way to basically be the new number one contender. Um, really no surprise to that. Um, and then Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga defeat Cody and Jimmy. And I find it kind of weird is that Cody seems to be taking L's as in a tag team function, but yet he's still holding the title hostage.
I don't think he's holding the title hostage.
Well,
I think this is just where we're at with him, and you know, yeah,
I don't know.
I don't
I
look at it
mean, I
like
wouldn't say
that, but
hostage, but I feel like it's because the fans want it. And
yeah,
so Triple H is basically, I mean, because honestly, the whole WrestleMania thing changed because the fans, you
Pretty much.
know, and so, the whole hashtag we want Cody thing. So, I mean, I think it just needs to, come to an end. But the problem is with a lot of wrestlers is that when you're not a champion, you have to find a way to still fit in. And I think Cody without the title is, I don't know because going for it was the story, and then
hmm
we reached the destination of him getting it, and now it's just like he's running this like happy-go-lucky tour for the last year, of finishing the story and all this other stuff, and I think we need to move on.
Definitely, we need to hurry up
And
and hurry the
and
story up.
I think that's some of the stories. I mean, I feel like they've dragged on too long. Um, I mean, and like, there's no personal vendetta with Cody. Like, I don't have an issue with, him. It's just, I think WWE wants to move, back to a more, I don't know, like 15 years ago kind of WWE where the titles bounce around a little bit more. I mean, because, a lot of the titles, they've been holding on to him for a long time. Like whether it was Roman's 1300-day reign, or the Usos like 700 and something other freaking number whatever. Gunther had 666 days as Intercontinental, and stuff like that. And I feel like it just seems like the matches don't make sense unless, like, I don't like the whole, oh, they have to beat the champion and then they get the opportunity after that and then they lose. Like I feel like if you're holding the title, I feel like it should be on the line most of the time.
Like back in the Attitude Time was like they had a title shot pretty much almost every week on Raw or SmackDown.
yeah,
Even
I-
Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you look at, because if you look at like Liv's reign, she was holding it, she had the thing for like 250 days or something, and she had like 5 title defenses. Like you're on screen all the time, but like you don't ever defend your title. Like I don't understand, like like having it for a long time would mean you defended it a lot. I mean, Bruno San Martino defended his title. I think it was an average. I think I did it was like every like 5 days.
Yeah,
And
something like that.
and so like I mean these long reigns are just kind of drawn out and boring because we're just like, oh, wins again. Oh, like, and it's not like a decisive victory either. I mean, like we love Roman now, but like, I mean, kind of his title reign was very tainted by interference. Gunther's I really wouldn't say was too much interference. Um, the Usos having, the tag team stuff really doesn't get too much taint to it,
Not
just
really.
because it's, there's a lot going on in the whole match in its entirety. So like, it's just these singles championships when they're kind of winning without interference. Although it's obviously a repetitious recipe used. It's like sometimes I wanted to see it straight up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I would like to see more straight up, clean finish matches in just clean matches, like just one on one, and let them tell the story. And
you know,
just those three people in the ring, the ref and the two competitors. I think that is something that could be refreshing for a lot of audience, where that's it's decisive, it's conclusive. You can't say like, oh, they won, my guy lost because they cheated, or my guy won because we cheated, or
yeah.
whatever have you. It's gotta it let it be that one-on-one, like no interference,
And like
just
interference once in a while, that's fine. But I feel like
I mean,
it just
if it makes sense,
yeah.
but
I mean,
like
but it has to make sense though.
yeah, like you got beef with like two people, and one of those people that you got beef with, it's Kevin Owens, so he's gonna run in just to
Right.
screw you so you can have a bigger
Yeah,
match
I
with
mean
him.
that's the same thing with CM Punk screwing Drew and Drew screwing CM Punk and Finn screwing Damian and Damian screwing Finn. And I mean it's overused right now. Like
It definitely is.
it's to the point where like we just don't have just one-on-one straight up, like Frederick said, tell the story, like let them just do what they do. Let's be a good match. And then they win, they leave, and we're fine. But it's just the point where like it's an infestation of outside interference. Like it's just too
Mm,
much. It's too much. And I don't want it shoved down my throat every time when there's outside interference. I mean, because realistically, the most outside interference is Bloodline and Judgment Day. That's pretty much been the pretty much the most coming and going thing on WWE in the last year. It's Bloodline does this to get this, or Judgment Day does this to get this, and
right.
it,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
overused.
it's I'm I want to see a season of WWE where it's just one-on-one, where it's clean matches, where there's drama in the match that helps carry the story. Let them talk big smack after the match. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Let them like have their run-ins and their jump-ins after the match. But let the match just tell the story and let it be with those two people. And I want to say, and this is just a speculation, is that when we do see these run-ins, are you not giving enough credibility to the people that are having this story to be able to carry a story, and that's why you're interjecting other people? Is that
Well,
why
yeah, I
we see like these one-on-one matches becoming triple threats or handicap matches? I mean,
right.
so what
I
if Braun
think
Strowman up is going up against, like enhancement talent? I don't need to see two or three people in there. Let Braun Strowman beat up the enhancement talent and then have another match immediately after that. Let them just
yeah,
give,
they
and
it's well, and the thing is too is and if if they're gonna slowly get away from the plethora of live shows throughout the week, like they're not going to be wrestling all the time. So, like, having a regular match is not going to be so far fetched that they can't just have a straight up match and be done with it. Like, and then and I don't even mind like the trifecta of, three matches, whatever, kind of the rubber match being the third match or whatever. Like, I'm okay with that. It's just too much
Mhm.
and you're in because I feel like it's a detriment to some talent that like this happens
Yeah.
because and I look at mostly like Dominic Mysterio, right? Because Dominic, honestly, like I feel like if he his moveset's very basic, and that's fine. That's a lot of wrestlers. But like, the fact that like he's always getting help, it's always like, is that going to do anything for him moving forward? Like, can he fly? Can he have a straight up match with someone and be fine? Like, you can still be a part of the Judgment Day. I don't care that you're part of a group. It's just that it downplays your credibility that you have to have people help you win. So,
But I think it also plays into the tradition of a heel where that's just what heels do. You know what I'm saying? And
That's just the way heels always been.
Yeah, there's a video that we've all shared of like Dominic talking about leaning into the heel. You just don't half-ass being a heel. You go 100% into it. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I don't it doesn't have I don't want to see the run-ins and the
well, and like you could win by yourself being dirty.
Yeah. I mean,
it's you can use underhanded tactics. I mean, come
but
on.
Long
now.
as it's one-on-one.
Exactly.
Give me the one-on-one matches.
Exactly, because you had Ric Flair do it. You had Eddie Guerrero do it. Like, you've had underhanded tactics, but they were just straight up one-on-one matches. And I don't know if you guys watched like NXT Deadline or whatever. And so like the week before when Lexis King won the Heritage Cup, they all of a sudden said, "Oh, it was a DQ or something," right? But like, and then because 99% of the time they don't even care if what happened in the match. Whoever if the person pins them, then they win, right? And this was weird for them to go back and be like, "Hey, you got to give the Heritage Cup back because you won via disqualification, whatever." But I'm like, since when? Like, since when has that ever not been how things go? Like, William Regal punched Lexis King, like in that, and then all of a sudden he throws the things and like, so if you hit quote unquote, because they obviously played it like that, William Regal's son hit him or whatever, but I'm like, I feel like a dub needs to be a dub, like, and obviously like I'm happy for Lexis King basically at Deadline basically getting his one-on-one. It was a winner take all, like it was for the Heritage Cup, but it wasn't under the rules because it was all the tomfoolery, and it was a straight up match, and I'm all for it. Obviously Lexis King, the son of Brian Pillman, obviously, but like, Lexis King didn't even know his dad really. So like when he moved to WWE, he got rid of that mantra. He got rid of that stuff. He wanted a fresh start. And I think it's good for him.
I don't like that. I don't like that. I mean, when you have so many other performers that have like made a name for themselves because of the work of their parents or previous generations, I think it would have been an honorable thing to still use your birth name. I mean, I just, to me that means something. I get how he wanted to honor his late sister and his late stepfather.
Yeah, and that was his family though. Like that was his actual family though, because he never knew his dad died when he was like handfuls of years old. So like his true family, he is honoring his true family, not just to his DNA matches too. Just
we could talk for hours about that, and my argument is just like, my argument is that I don't I don't need another character. I don't need another WWE trademark to name. I know you're Brian Pillman's son. I would rather see you honoring your father.
I mean, in addition, Charlie Dempsey is William Regal's son, and he's not doing anything with that.
I mean, well, we all also know that William Regal is not his birth name, but I digress. So it's
I know, I'm just saying the character.
Yeah. So a lot of it is like, all right, let's use this screen name, and I'm this character, and this is what I want to do. But there's a part of me that's just like, it's kind of
I mean,
insulting,
Braun Breaker isn't using the last name
and
Steiner.
and I hate that. I hate that for Braun Breaker.
And they openly refer to the move off the top called the
Yep.
Steiner recliner. So
Yep,
like
you've got the Steiner recliner, you've got the Frankenstein, you've got a Steiner line, you've got belly to back suplexes that his uncle and
Yeah.
father did all the time.
and I think the like the line in the sand is that like just because his dad meant that to WWE doesn't mean his dad meant that to him.
Yeah,
And so
and
I
I
think
get
like
that.
I think
I
that's
just
where it comes from. I think it's
yeah,
it's
and without
I'm not him. I didn't know he wasn't an impact in my life. So like me taking on his name doesn't have the impact to me that honoring his stepdad and sister, like trying to like do that to honor them because that's his family. And but again, we could spin circles on this, but
yeah.
like, and I think sometimes like reinventing yourself isn't a bad thing. I
No, it's
mean,
not.
No.
because I mean,
and I
we
agree
see
with that.
we see that transition through all of WWE history. I mean,
Yep, we do.
I
We
mean,
do.
you have, I mean, we have the plethora
Yeah.
of Hall of Famers that have gone under about 20 different things. So,
Yeah,
but
and for for me, I guess I should not be so hung up on it because it is not my life. But there's a part of me is just like it just doesn't like
Set
sit.
well to you.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well
yeah,
to me
I mean,
because
and I think
it's
I
it's
think
it's like a matter of fact. Oh, my dad was Brian Pillman. It's like it's just like my hair is blonde. It's kind of like that when
you
when
don't have any hair.
when you remember seeing your dad Brian Pillman, flying Brian Pillman, come up and you hear his story, and then seeing on Monday Night Raw when Vince McMahon announces that your father passed away. It's that interview is so distraught and so callous. It's just like it was
Well,
uncomfortable watching that. I don't know if either one of you were alive, but I remember that Raw, and Vince was trying to like talk to her, and she was so numb, and Vince was trying to make a buck off of it, and
I
well,
might have
it
seen
just
it.
it was just if you were to watch it now, you would just be like, something's
and
wrong with
I
Vince
think
McMahon.
well, and I think too
There's
is
a
it's
lot
like I think
wrong with
it's
him.
I mean, and like I think every situation's different. I mean, like
Yeah.
I think it comes down to his basically reinventing himself, not because he doesn't respect what his dad did for the business. I think it's more like personable, like, hey, like it didn't mean like I know it means a lot to you guys, but
Mhm.
it doesn't to me. And like, and it's not him being cold towards what
Right,
his father
right.
accomplished.
And
I think honestly, it's when he came. If you ever want to go back and like actually like watch the very first episode of him coming and basically
yeah.
saying, "I'm going by this," and to do
Yeah,
honor this,
and
this, and
apparently
this.
he tells a story about why he chose that name. And I
And-
understand that and I accept it. Um
yeah,
it's definitely his journey, but a part of me there's a small part of me that has my own personal
right. Well, I
reflections
mean,
and
and
thoughts and
it's
opinions about it. And I'm just kind of like I just grit my teeth. The same thing with Braun Breaker. It's just like,
yeah.
man, you're a Steiner.
They could easily make him Bronson. Like his name is Bronson, so like, but
What
like,
happens when his cousin shows up? Do we
right.
call them the Steiner boys? Can we do
Yeah,
that?
it's
You
yeah.
That
know,
would be cool.
yeah, that would be cool.
That would be
Well,
a
Braun
cool name.
Breaker, Scott
Yeah,
Steiner Jr. or whatever his Braun's
yeah.
cousin's name is.
Yeah.
It would be
And I think it's a matter of we'll see what happens.
Mhm.
We're we're at about an hour 25, but
So much for that
we'll
45-minute
just put a
time
pin in
limit.
it as we do,
Yes.
because I think that's the I don't know. That's why I like doing this podcast, just because like there's so much stories, like because everybody thinks differently on certain topics, and that's okay, you know.
Mhm.
And I think and like that's just wrestling. That's just wrestling in general, right? I mean, like you boo people, you cheer people, and so like and I think that as long as you feel something, you're enjoying WWE, and I think that's kind of where we'll leave it. I mean, we're gonna definitely see what happens, tomorrow with, I guess episode 2, of the net, Raw on Netflix. Let's see if they fine tune things.
Yeah.
And then obviously Friday, we're gonna obviously see the culmination of whatever's going on with the Bloodline. And that acknowledgement ceremony, probably that's probably what they'll call it.
Who knows?
Maybe I'll predict the future, but or call my shot. But we'll see what happens, and we'll be here next week, and we'll see what comes of everything, and maybe we'll agree or disagree or whatever as we do. So, but it is what it is. So, hope you guys have a great day. And this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.